Good morning, everybody. If you haven't already, and many of you have, make sure that you email me at kirkmillerart@gmail.com so that I can send you an invitation to add you to our Google Drive folder, shared folder. And once you do receive notification that you have been added, you need to make sure that you go in there and that you put a folder for yourself. Okay, I can't do that. And that's where you'll begin saving files. And this will be the first project that we do where you can save files. Okie doke. So got that. Are there any questions about the class, about what's expected and that sort of thing? Before I get started with my demonstration today on saving or optimizing files for the web. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I think for our class, in web design, it is really critical to understand how the file formats that are used for web design, how files are measured, file sizes, how you name files, and how you properly save them using programs like Photoshop. So I've asked, and that you look at lesson 10, and it covers a little bit more, but it covers really pretty much what we're doing right now. So it's far along in the lessons, but I choose to cover it right now because I'm sure many of you don't have the textbook yet, which you will absolutely need for this class. Okay. So if there aren't any questions, I'll go ahead and I'll get started and I'll share my screen. And I'm going to switch to Photoshop. Okay, so this is a file I have in Photoshop right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to Google. No, I'm not going to use Chrome. I'm going to use Firefox, but it's up to you what you use. It really doesn't make any difference. So the first thing that you need to do is decide, where are you going to get your images? And for the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to get images off the internet. And that's what many of you will wind up doing. So we'll start with that. And I want to show you how to properly do that and to save them in a variety of different ways in Photoshop for the web, which is uniquely different than print. So if you've had me for Photoshop and that's principally been files that we've created for print, not for the web, but that we're going to focus on a different aspect of it right now. So I'm going to do a simple image search on the web, and I'm going to go to look for a file. And I'm going to look for sunflowers, okay? Okay, so just doing a simple Google search. And then I'm going to look at images up here. And the next thing that we want to do is, so these are all the images that pop up for sunflowers. Well, what I want to do is I want to check on tools here, and I want to look at size. So for the web, we can pretty much look at any size, and that's adequate. But we can also look at large, medium, and icon sizes. For our purposes right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select large just for the heck of it so that it filters out some of the smaller images. And I'm going to pick, let's see which one. I'm going to go ahead and let's see what we have here. I'm going to select this one right here. That's a good sunflower image. And let's check the size of that. So when I hover over this, this is not a huge file. When I hover over it, I know it's really very small, but if you give this a try, it shows in the lower left-hand corner that this is 1200 by 1329 pixels. So it's 1200 pixels wide, and it's 1329 pixels tall. For the web, that's a big image. Now, you may not be aware of it, but the resolution of all the images that you see on the web is 72 pixels per inch, which is screen resolution. That's the resolution that you need for the web. For print, we want maybe between, at least 240 pixels per inch, ideally maybe 300 pixels per inch. But for the web, we only need 72. So a screen resolution for us is just fine. And a 1200 by 1329 is a big image. That will cover pretty much the entire expanse of a screen, especially if you're working on a laptop like I am. So I'm going to go ahead and download it. And to do that, I just right click on here. And I'm going to say that I want to save image as. And I'm going to save it on my desktop. Pops up, here's the desktop, and I want to make sure that it's saved as a JPEG image. And I'm just going to name this sunflower. I can leave it as the whole name, 1200 pixels, sunflower sky backdrop. That's not a bad name for an image. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I'll just save it. Now I can move this out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open the file in Photoshop. So I'll go ahead and go to File, Open. And if you can do this a number of different ways, but I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to go to Desktop. Okay. And here it is at the very top of my list right here. Okay, come on, there we go. Okay. So possibly the first thing that you want to do when you're in Photoshop is make sure that you're measuring in pixels, not inches, since that's typically how images and files and things are measured on the web. So I'm going to go to Photoshop, and I'm going to go to Preferences, and I'm going to come down here to Units, and whoops, I didn't want that. I want accidentally clicked on the wrong thing. Cancel that, go back up to Photoshop, Preferences. I want units and rulers. There we go. And I'm going to switch rulers from inches, which is typically the units that we use to measure for print, and I'm going to switch to pixels. Okay, and you can see the width of it is 1200. It's a nice big file. The next thing that you have to decide is how do you, how big do you want this image to be ultimately for your website? You don't want to leave it at this size if it's going to be a smaller image. So for example, for myself, I've decided that for this project that I want it maybe 500 by 500 pixels. So I need to crop it. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the file itself, and I'm going to hit Command J. Whoops, come back in here. There we go. Command J to make a copy of the layer, turn off the background layer. And now what I want to do is I want to use the crop tool to crop it. And I'm going to save this file. And I encourage all of you, when you're saving images for the web, that you save your original file as a Photoshop file. Photoshop files cannot be used on the web, but in preparation for the web, Photoshop is as good a tool as it gets. And what you'll want to do is, by saving it as a Photoshop file, that it will save all the layers. If you add adjustment layers, if you add type, if you do anything to this image, it will leave all of it intact. And then what we're going to do afterwards is we're going to save images for this as in file formats that are compatible for the web. And I'll let you know right now, there are 3 file types that are compatible for the web. There's an old file type, which is called a GIF or GIF, G-I-F. There is a JPEG, which is what you'll use in most instances, which would be, for this case, because it is a photograph, you will use a JPEG image. But if you want to add transparency or change the opacity of it in any way, then you'll probably want to save it as a PNG file, PNG. Those are the 3 file formats, and those are the only 3 file formats for images that will be acceptable for the web. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crop this. And what I want to do here is I'm going to switch here. I don't want this to be ratio, but I'm going to go ahead width, height, and resolution. So remember I said I wanted at 500 pixels. So 500 px, 500 px, 500 px. And I want the resolution of this, even though it's already at 72 pixels per inch, maybe the image that you are working with is 300 or whatever, then maybe you want to change it to 72. Okay, so here's my square format. Okay, and you'll notice that part of the image has been cropped off. I can go ahead and I can move my image up or down, over left and right. I want to make sure that I get all of it in there. Let's move this up just a little bit. No, I can't move it up too much. There we go. So I'm going to crop a little bit of the top off of this, and that's it. The next thing that you want to do, this is something that they made available a few versions ago of Photoshop, is that if you want to delete crop pixels, you can do that. I recommend that you leave that unchecked. That's up here at the top in the options menu. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and I can crop. Okay. Now, the reason that I have, that I want to make sure that I can bring those back is that if I select the crop tool again, notice how I've changed this a little bit. I need to bring this in just a little bit. Let's just bring that in just a little bit. And I'm going to bring it in here just a little bit because I don't want any transparent pixels. Now, if I had selected delete crop pixels, if there were any pixels that lied outside of my cropping, I would not be able to bring them back, except for while the file is open to hit Command Z, undo it. So now I'm ready to save this for the web. I probably want to check the size and everything and make sure that everything is okay. So now if I go to image size, I can go in here and you can see that in inches, it is 6.944 by 6.944, 72 pixels per inch, which is what we use for the web. And at the top, you can see the dimensions that are 500 by 500 pixels. So I'm ready to go. So there's a variety of ways that I can save this for the web. One way of doing that is I can go over here. And let me save this as a Photoshop file first. So remember that my original file is a JPEG. I'm going to go ahead and do File, Save As. And I said I want the original to be a Photoshop file. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I'll leave it the same file. Well, I'm just going to name it Sunflower. I'll do that. Keep it simple. Format type, Photoshop, and I'm going to put it in a new folder right now, just so that I can retrieve it at any time. I'll just say images for art 196. Okay, so that's going to be on the desktop. So I have a new folder for that. And now I can go ahead and I can save my Photoshop file folder. Right? So this is my original. It's still not ready for the web yet. And notice that I've really enlarged it. I can make it as big as I want on the screen, but that's not necessarily the size that it will be displayed on my web page. So now I'm ready to save this for the web. And what I want to do now is I can do it a couple of different ways. And I'm going to show you old school first. So I'm going to go to File, here, and I'm going to export. And then I'm going to export save file for web legacy. And this is an old school way of doing it, but it is still really very, very useful. Because back in the day when we had dial-up modems, I don't think any of you remember that, it was really essential that you wanted, when you were optimizing images for the web, that you made sure that they were the best quality, but the smallest file size possible. And that's what this does. This allows you, this little widget here, or this little submenu, or ancillary little program, allows you to compare and contrast on the fly. So if I look at the original in the upper left-hand corner, the Sunflower PSD, it tells me that it's 977K. That's a very small file. If I look over to the right, I can see that with a JPEG, very high quality, and I see that up here, and I see that here, 80 quality, which is used very often now on the web, that it's been compressed at 110 to 110.8K. And with a really old dial-up modem, a 56K dial-up modem, it would take 21 seconds to load. So if you want to see how it would load on a faster modem, you can click here. And then, for example, if you have download time with cable T1, and you can see that it's 2 seconds, it's nothing. Okay, I'm going to leave it at the old school 56K. It just gives me a good point of comparison, but really this is not that essential anymore. It's not that critical. But you still want to be mindful of the file sizes that you use. Typically, they say for your home page or your splash page, or whatever you want to call it, the download time that it takes for the entire page should not exceed 10 seconds. Otherwise, you will lose viewers, and that still holds true today. So if you have large files, if you have video, if you have sound, it could very well take longer than 10 seconds to load the page for a person with a slow internet connection. So this is what it would take with a high, very high quality. If I come down here to this one, we can see that this is 40 quality or medium quality. Now, if you can discern a difference, then you probably want to go with the higher quality. But if you can't, then maybe you want to go with a medium quality. You can see now it went from 21 seconds to 8 seconds. That's a considerable, drop in size and time that it takes to download onto your computer. Likewise, if we go to this one, okay, this is the smallest one, and this is 6 seconds. So this is low quality. Well, the difference between medium and low quality and download time is not that great. So maybe I would want to pick medium quality. If I'm working with only high-speed internet, then I'm going to go with the high quality, and that's it. So now I can go ahead and I can save this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to save. And it should save it adjacent to where I saved my Photoshop file. And you'll notice that it just simply changes the extension. I've used Sunflower and .jpg. Now, as it saves it, this is a good time to talk about how you name files. Okay. You need to start a file name with a lowercase letter. If there are spaces between it, if I say let's name this My Sunflower, okay, or Our Sunflower, something like that. I'm going to start with a lowercase, and if you decide to put a space between the two words, My Sunflower, that will not work. So what you need to do is you need to maybe use an underscore between the two so that it's continuous. Or you can Also, instead, what I like to do is I like to use camel casing. And so what that means is I start with a lowercase, and then if there are any separations in the middle, then I use a capital letter, and that visually gives you a separation so you can see, oh, it's my sunflower. And I can go ahead and I can save it. Now, where do I want to save it? I want to go back to my desktop. Let's go to the desktop, because I've been saving this at other places, and I want to see Art 1. Let's go back up here. Art 186 or 196. What am I saying here? Well, you know, I'm going to switch to, oh, that's in documents. No wonder. I need to go to desktop. Come on, where's desktop? That's why I didn't see it. I've got so much crud on my desktop. I can never find anything. And what did I name it? I can't even remember what I just named it. Images for, yeah, images for Art 196. So I'm going to save it in this folder, right next to my Photoshop file. Boom. So that's one way to save it. Another way to save it is to come over to layers, and I can double click on the layers and I can name it my sunflower.jpg for JPEG. Now, it has not saved it yet, but I can do that quite easily by going to, you know, once the file is saved, so I'm going to hit Command S again and make sure that this whole thing is saved. There we go. I can go up under File, and I can select Generate Image Assets. Now, what that has done is I need to hide this for a second. And in my messy desktop, I need to find my folder here that I just created. So my apologies. It should be images. Come on. Where are you? I don't know. Either this is, I'm just a unorganized person, or I'm a very creative person, or someplace in between. So come on. Well, let me go ahead and do a search here. Come on. I don't want Siri. I'm going to go images. For Art 190, yeah. There we go. Images for Art 196. Come on. There we go. So here it is. Okay, can everybody see? I hope. I know it might be kind of small for some of you. But you'll notice here is the folder, images for Art 196. And you'll notice that when I generated the image assets, it created a folder, sunset assets. And when I click here, you can see that it has my sunflower.jpg. So I'm set to go. Now I can create it. I can create files for other purposes. Oh, come on, Siri, I don't want you.
On it.
Yeah, goodbye. So let me bring Photoshop back down. And let's save it different ways. So you can see, you know, JPEG is the most common. But what if I wanted transparency for some reason? That maybe I just wanted an image of the sunflower, but I didn't want a background color for any reason. I wanted a rectangular image, and all JPEGs are always saved as rectangles. But maybe I wanted, for example, a circular image. So one way of doing that would be to take this particular layer and make a copy of it, Command J. And let's go ahead and on this layer, I'm going to turn off the, I'll leave the other, I'm going to turn off the one beneath it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select an ellipse marquee. Hold down the Shift key, Option key, and click and drag like so. And I'm going to move this down like so. So maybe I want to get rid of all of the pixels outside of this marquee. So if I select and the layers panel here, add layer mask, it does that. Now you cannot do this with a JPEG, but I can do this with a GIF or a PNG. So what I can do is I can rename this one. We'll rename this layer my my sunflower, but not JPEG. I'm going to name it GIF, which is the old style format. Okay. So what I need to do now is I need to check again, and you'll notice in image assets, it's already added that GIF file. So it's a very efficient way of generating images for the web. That's how it's done now. So that's the second way of saving files for the web. The other reason you might want to use a GIF is for flat two-dimensional graphic images. The only time you would want to use it for an image like this that normally we would be saved as a JPEG is if you wanted transparency for some reason. And with GIFs, the only way that you can have transparency is 100% transparent. You cannot have any kind of opacity that's in between, okay? But let's say I wanted something that's in between. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this file and I'm going to make a copy of it. And I'm going to turn off this one. And instead of 100% opacity, let me go ahead and change this to maybe 50% opacity. And you can begin to see the pixels in the background here. Okay. Transparency, indicating transparency, the little checkerboard. And I'll make this 50%. So instead of a JPEG, which we cannot have, or if we want to make this partial opacity, I'm going to make this one a PNG file. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to turn that off, turn that one off, turn this one back on, and you can see that. Now again, all I have to do is go back here and you can see that it's already saved it as a PNG file. So now I have my GIF, my JPEG, and a PNG. All the same image, but used for different purposes. Another thing that you need to be aware of with regard to naming your files, I mentioned that you don't start a file with a capital letter. You do not put spaces between the words. If you do want space, then you might want to use an underscore. The other important thing is that you do not use special characters. Do not use an ampersand, do not use exclamation points, do not use anything other than letters and or numerals to name your file, and that's it. Otherwise, you can open it in Photoshop, you can open it on your computer, but when you incorporate it into an HTML document and you upload it to your host, to their server, it will probably not recognize it. And you will get a little question mark saying that it's looking for a file and it knows that a file should be here, but it's not here. Okay. So I can turn all of these back on if I want. I don't need to because it saved all of them. But now I have within one Photoshop file, I have 3 different documents for different purposes. Now you can do any number of things with this. I mean, I could come back here and let's turn this one off. Let's turn this one back on. And let's say I wanted to isolate the the sunflower itself and remove the background sky. Well, I could do that. I can, come over here and I can, click in here. And let's go ahead and hold down the Shift key. I don't need to hold down the Shift key. I'm going to go ahead and add. And I'm going to click in here. Here. You know what? I'm going to do this a little bit differently. They have a newer tool that they've just added. And I'm going to see how well it works. I want the object selection tool. So I'm just going to put a rectangle around this whole object. And it's supposed to be able to tell for me what I want. And it does a pretty decent job. But I still need to go back and I need to do a little bit of cleanup here. So I'm going to go back to the quick selection tool and I'm going to remove some sections or add some. I need to add a little bit in here and here. So I'm just clicking, add part of that leaf. The section in here, in this little negative area, I want to get rid of that. So come on. There we go. So I got rid of that. Now I'm looking this over. I probably want to add a little bit more in here. Close enough for government work. Now I can go ahead and I can make a selection of that. And if that's how I want this to be, this could be either a GIF or it could be a ping. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose ping for this. So instead of JPEG, I will add ping, because if I leave it a JPEG, it will do that, but it will use the default background color. Okay. Now, if I also want that JPEG, in addition to that, I need to turn this layer back on and I need to make a copy of that. And I need to, again, name it, my sunflower or whatever you want to name it. But I like keeping them the same name with only the difference in the extension. So it's my sunflower .jpg. And now let's go ahead and having done that, let's look and see what we have. Oh, we have an error here. So what did I do? I named, because I have two my sunflower pings. So that doesn't work. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to name this one version 2. Okay. So it does warn you if you do make a mistake. And now you can see I have a total of 4 different versions of this sunflower image ready for the web. I have a transparent one for that ping file. I have a ping file that has a circular format, but is with a partial opacity. I have the JPEG, which is a rectangular image that I want to use for the web that's 500 by 500 pixels. And it also gives you the file size for it. And here's my GIF file, which is very similar to the other ping file. But this one, as I mentioned, the GIF file, that's 100% transparency around the edge. Okay. I might be forgetting something in here for this lesson, but this doesn't really take that long. I've used upwards to 40 minutes over an hour. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the recording of this for the moment, and I'm going to see if you have any questions, or maybe I can leave it on for right now. So let me go ahead and look at participants and put that up there. And let's, if you want Q&A. And I want to make sure that I also have chat. So I need to know from you, all of you, do you have any questions about what I've covered so far? Now, obviously, you need Photoshop. And then next Tuesday, you'll need to have access to Dreamweaver as well. So in order to do that, you have to sign up for the Adobe Suite and gain access to that. And if you recall from the other day, that will either cost you $40 or $80 if you do not have it yet. $40 for 6 months subscription and $80 for 1 year subscription. No questions? No? So your first assignment is either take one of your own images that maybe you've taken with your smartphone, and I presume most of you have smartphones or phones that can take images, or with a digital camera, and you need to open it in Photoshop, and then you're going to crop it at 72 pixels per inch, 500 by 500 pixels with a dimension. And then you need to save it at least 3 different ways. One is a JPEG, as I've done, and then one is a GIF, including some transparency somewhere. And then one is a ping with some partial opacity in there. Okie doke. And then you're going to put those files inside your folder that you've created inside our Google or shared Google Drive folder. And then we will be set to go. And then what I'm going to do on Tuesday is begin covering basic principles of HTML. And then on Thursday, we will start covering CSS, cascading style sheets. And then the week after that, we'll begin building your website in the lessons, using the lessons in the 2017 version of the Adobe Dreamweaver 2017 Classroom in a Book. Another thing that you can be doing now, in addition to this assignment, that won't take you that long. So it won't hurt to start now. So let me go ahead and do that. If there aren't any questions about this, then I'm going to start talking about the Wix website. Okay, so your first assignment, well, your first long-term assignment, not this one, will be to create a website using a free online service like Wix.com. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring down this, and I'm going to go to Wix.com, and I'm going to sign in or create a new one. So I'm just going to go to Wix, Wix.com. And I already have a couple of accounts with them. Come on, come on, come on. Slow connection. It's loading. And you can see that I'm already logged in here. But what you want to do is you want to create your an account, a free account with them. Okay. And once you do, then what you're going to do is you're going to look at the templates that they offer. So let me log out of this, and I'm going to log out just to show you what the, yeah, here you go. Get started. You can either sign in or you want to get started to create a Wix website. So what you're going to do is you're going to click here to get started. And you can use Facebook or Google or with an Apple account. So instead of Kirk B. Miller, let's use Kirk Miller Art. See if I can't create an account with that. I may or have already done so. Oh, I need to sign up. So I already have one. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up. So Kirk Miller Art. I may already have one with them with that, and they probably won't allow me to do that. So type your email again, kirkmillerart@gmail.com. And the password that I want to use, try it again. Let's see if I can't sign up. So let's go ahead and get started. What you may have to do is check your email to verify this, but let's go ahead and get started now. And that's what you'll do. Basically, and I can cover in the remaining minutes. It says, like, you know, who do you want to create a website for? And in our class, it's yourself. However, if you have a small company that you're developing, if you have a friend or relative or someone that who's or a client that you want to create a website for this class, you're welcome to do so. Okay, if it's a startup, and the reason that they're asking this is that the templates that they offer will vary depending on what it is. So if I say, okay, I want one for myself, let's see what templates they have. And again, my things are really slow right now for me. Have I created a website before? And let's say, I'm assuming that it'll be the first time for most of you. I'm going to go ahead and say this is my first time. What I'm doing is what kind of website do you need? And for the reason I designed this class, or developed this class, I should say, was for graphic design students, art students, journalism students to create a portfolio, an online presence for yourself. So I'm going to say portfolio. Okay, baking, digital illustration, game design, opera, nursing, food design, and they got a bunch of them. So I'm going to say digital illustration, since that's sort of what we're involved in. And I'm going to go to next. And now what it's doing is it's filtering my choices, and it's going to come up with a variety of, so I want to see, it can create a website for you. I don't recommend that you do that. I want to choose a template. Now, this is kind of a quick and dirty way of designing your website. My preference is, just to let you know at the onset, you'll notice that a couple of these have collage splash pages. I don't like those, and I'll explain why now. And this would be another one. I would prefer that you use, or that anybody use, whether you're a photographer, illustrator, artist, that you pick a single image for your splash page, for your home page. You want something that is visually dynamic, that grabs the viewer's attention and lures them in so that they will hopefully stay for a while and view additional pages. If you lay, you know, all your cards on the table early on and pick a page like this with a number of illustrations at the onset, they might look at it and go, no, that's not what I want. I'm not interested, and they will move on. This might give them an opportunity to at least, you know, look at yours a little bit further. So let's go ahead and view this one here. What the heck? And you can see that this is a single page website with all these images. And I can look at the full Viewful Demo here. And if you like that, you can go ahead and you can continue with this and edit the site. So use this as a starting point. Let's go ahead and edit this site. And there are no tutorials for this. I can walk you through some of it. And we can do that on another day as we finish up our lessons, as I'm doing today. And right now it's creating the necessary, information that we'll need. And we can go in, and what you're going to do is you're going to insert and substitute your own images for the ones that they use as placeholders. You'll also go in and you'll edit and text. You can use the fonts that they have chosen, or you can edit them and change them. Okay. So here's the setup that they have chosen. Okay. So I can go ahead and I can say start now. And let's say, for example, I'm going to go ahead and click up here. And what I want to do is I'm going to edit the text. So I'm going to click in here. Let me go back. See, I have to review this for myself. I'm going to go menu and pages. So I got to move this around a little bit. Okay. And we're going to come in here. So I can drag this around, menu and pages. So I'm going to go ahead and I want the home page, and I don't want to add that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit it. So let's rename, copy, show, delete. Let's go ahead and close that. So we're going to close that. Come back in here. Come on. There we go. So it's a heading 4. And instead of Elias Cole, I'm going to go ahead and put my own name. And there you go. As you go, you're going to substitute your own information for the ones that they have. Quick and dirty way of building a website. Is this the best choice? I don't know. I don't think so, because what I would like you to do for our website, it can be a single page, but what I would like you to do is to have a splash page. You're going to have an about information about yourself, a little paragraph, a resume, a portfolio as they have here. So this is largely a portfolio page. So I don't know if this is the right template that I would have chosen. But it's nice imagery. And then also make sure that you have a contact information so that person can get in touch with you, others that view your page can get in touch with you. Okay. Access to any social media that you have, things like that. And then you can go ahead and, preview, save, preview, and publish, and you're set to go. And that's it. So I can always go back and I can change a different, switch to a different template. Okay. And we're set to go. So that's pretty much it for today. I encourage you, if nothing else, once you finish the first lesson, that you start and you create your Wix account and look at it, spend some time. You can be watching TV or doing whatever. And in addition to that, and you can look over some of the templates that they have. And I don't want to save any of this. I want to go back, and I'm going to go back here. And I want to pick a different template. Okay. So I would have to go back and do that again. So I would go back and, redo this. Okay. Now you don't need to upgrade. So, that's, this will all be done for free. Okay. Okie doke. Any questions? I'm going to go ahead and stop recording for right now, or at least pause. So as we, Oh, when will I post this video for Canvas? Within an hour or two. Actually, you know what? I would go on, instead of Canvas, I would go directly to my website. Here's what I would do. I will make it available to you as I made the other one available to you, but I would go to my website. So I'm going to go to let me go to kmart66.com. And under Kirk's classes, go to video tutorials. This will take you to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to leave Canvas alone for a while. And now you'll notice here all the playlists that I've created. And you'll notice here's one, it's Art 196, Introduction to Web Design, Spring 2021. And now when I click on here, here's the one that I created the other day.
There we go.
Okay. And I will add to that. I will add this particular lesson for this one, for today. So I will, begin accumulating videos for this semester there. But I'm sort of leaving the old one alone for right now. Yeah, so also the question is, for the first assignment, it was JPEG, GIF, and PNG. Those are the 3 file formats. A JPEG is typically used for a photographic image, or one with a large amount of visual data, dense data that could be used for gradients or details and that sort of thing. GIFs are typically used for flat, 2-dimensional graphic images, or if you want to take a photographic image and add transparency to it somehow. PNG files can be used both the same way that JPEGs and GIFs are used. It's the most recent format that was created and is available to be used for either one. So that can be used another question, Casey. Yeah, you can email me questions. Sure, that's no problem. But anyway, with the JPEGs or the GIFs or the PNGs, the PNG file that you will upload will be one with partial opacity. Same file, all generated from the same Photoshop file, just 3 different approaches to it. When would you use a JPEG, GIF, or PNG? And then the other thing is, make sure that you name it correctly, using the formatting that I talked about early on today. That you cannot start with a capital letter. You cannot put spaces between words. You cannot use special characters. If you do want a space between words, use an underscore, or in lieu of that, use camel casing. So I will look at that too. And if you get it all right, you get a full 10 points. Okay. Yeah, and if you need, so I'm going to go ahead and post these as I've done here. That will be in the YouTube channel. Okay. Any other questions, comments? No? So are we done for today? As I mentioned, get this done by the weekend. Make sure that you have your folder generated in Google Drive, because you can't submit the files until you do. And we will start with the first lesson on HTML inside the textbook on next Tuesday. And again, if you want to review what I've done, what I did last semester, this is just a repeat of what I did last semester. It's not really changing much, except if I forget something, or maybe I'll add something in addition to it. And then periodically, I'm going to do a checkup with all of you on see how your Wix website is coming. And I'll talk about Wix more next week and show you my website. And I'll show you, I'll edit it and that sort of thing. But you need to create a Wix account. That would be another thing that you need to do for this weekend. Okay. Well, if there aren't any questions, I'll go ahead and I'll pause the recording. You guys are free to go. And I will hopefully see all of you Tuesday. Okay. So let me stop sharing. So it comes back to me. The webinars, you do not have to attend any of them. But, you need to, in order to properly do the lessons, you need to watch the recordings. What I would recommend to stay in touch weekly is if you can't attend the webinar, then email me and just say that you're checking in, and so that I will check you off to let you know that you're here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. If you can come on Tuesdays, then that's great. Okay. So why isn't my image showing up here? I don't know. I'll go back to this. Let's go ahead and move this. Okie doke. Then if that's it, that's so long for now.